Today, as I was preparing for the show, I noticed that somebody was trending. Nina Turner was trending. I'm like, wow, Nina Turner's trending? Once again, as a progressive candidate, thought that was a little different. You know, when Hillary Clinton endorsed Nina Turner's rival, I said, okay. That made sense. That made sense when it trends because they always trend the establishment person. That's what Twitter does. They control who trends. So now they're trending Nina Turner. I'm like, okay, but this is different. Then I looked at why she was trending. She's trending because Jim Clyburn is also trending. Jim Clyburn opens his gullet to endorse the same candidate that Hillary Clinton endorsed. The candidate that's backed by the establishment, most of the establishment, the old guard, the old blue wall, Whoopi Goldberg's friends. Okay, just keeping status quo against Medicare for All. I mean, if Medicare for All would happen to become a thing, well, she might support it, but she ain't gonna champion it. She ain't gonna co-sponsor it. She ain't about that life. Number 3 House Democrat steps into Ohio race to head off a Sanders acolyte. And to answer why he's stepping in, there was this quote from the article. He said, in a rare intervention into a party primary, Mr. Clyburn, a veteran lawmaker, the highest-ranking black member of Congress, endorsed Chantel Brown, Miss Turner's leading opponent. He said his decision to back Ms. Brown, the chairwoman of the Cuyahoga County Democratic Party, was not about Mr. Sanders or even Miss Turner. No, it's not about Nina. No, why would he back a candidate or not back a candidate based on that candidate? No, of course not. That's crazy talk. Jim Clyburn doesn't decide who he endorses based on who's the better candidate, who's the candidate going to do the most for the people. That's what he said. It's not based on Nina. Well, what's it based on, Jim Clyburn? I'll tell you what it's based on. Let's use his own words. Jim Clyburn says, it was not about Mr. Sanders or even Mrs. Turner, who remains a favorite before the contest on August 3rd in the heavily Democratic district, but he took a swipe at what he called sloganeering of the party's left flank, which has risen to power with calls for Medicare for all, and to abolish ICE and defund the police. Yeah, folks. That's it. Jim Clyburn has stepped into this race to endorse a less experienced candidate with basically an invisible platform that's calling for outside money from super PACs, who does not talk about policy. Her entire campaign has been built on, Nina Turner said a mean thing about Joe Biden that one time, and I'm going to go in and kiss his ass if given the opportunity. That's pretty much been her campaign from this point on. It has not resonated in Ohio. Obviously, it resonates with the petty Hillary Clintons and Jim Clyburns of the world. But Jim Clyburn's not even concerned about Chantel Brown's background, her tactics of her campaign tactics, or even what her vision is. As long as they know they're going to have somebody that's going to fall in line, they're good with that. Clyburn said in his own words, it's about slogans. He don't like Nina Turner fighting for that Medicare for all. He don't like Nina Turner talking about ending mass incarceration or defunding the police, which we all know is reallocation of funding to other entities, not just dumping the money into the police, but mental health, care for children, camps, and being able to have places for children to go after school or before school or when there is no school, different programs, different mechanisms that would make a community safer, reimagining how do we get more people to lock people up and try to show up after a crime is committed? What can we do to better support our communities? Because just over-policing ain't working. But Clyburn don't care about that. No, he cares about slogans. He don't like the words defund the police. He don't like the words Medicare for all. Nor the policy either, because he's never endorsed it. So his real problem with Nina Turner is that these programs, these ideas, particularly Medicare for all, supported by the vast amount of Americans, Democratic, Republican, or Independent. It's not just a Democratic Party thing, it's an American thing. People need health care. You'll hear, if Jim Clyburn paid attention, he'd know that 1 million Ohioans lost their health care, their employer-based health care due to the pandemic. And he's upset about sloganeering. This is the time for Medicare for all, and that's what Nina's running on, and he don't like that. Because it's a sloganeering. It's the left flank trying to come to power. And if anything else, Jim Clyburn don't want to see the left flank. And when he says left flank, make no mistake about that. That's the will of the American people. See, there are people that are confused, and there are people that are not aware of what's going on. And then there's operatives who are propping up the establishment. You see, this is what real people think. Big Pharma owned Clyburn like an old piece of luggage. He going wherever they take him. Results. We get BS like this. More money for cops, and with the bill named Floyd, and nothing for Black Americans. I respect no one that doesn't give a fuck about me or those who enable them. That's a real person. That's how the people feel. Obviously, Clyburn likes the symbolic nature. But when it gets down to brass tacks about what we're going to do about it, when we talk about actual results, when we talk about actual policies that impact Black people, he's not about that life. Chantel Brown, not about that life. That's why they support her. It's not just language, guys. It's not just Nina Turner is outspoken and they don't want someone more politically correct. Don't be fooled by that. They want to fool you that that's what this is about. That ain't what it's about. It's about her policies. Black people, you cannot allow yourself to be fooled by these people that want to maintain status quo. And there are operatives on Twitter, whether they be ignorant or whether they be paid, to confuse the issue and muddy the waters. So they're using a comment that Killer Mike made about Joe Biden recently at an event over the weekend about Clyburn and about Joe Biden, and it was a critique that needed to be made. It's something that a lot of us feel that resonates with us. From Ohio to D.C. to wherever you live, I'm sure you'll find those who resonate with this point of view, particularly if you're African American, if you're Black in America. Here goes the statement that they say made Clyburn come out and endorse Chantel Brown.
What I realized when I saw people like Clyburn, which I don't have a problem with in South Carolina for the good work he's done, but I think it's incredibly stupid to not cut a deal before you get someone elected president, and the only thing you get is a federal holiday and nothing tangible out of it.
Talk about
it. And
now, hold on. I'm on these internet streets all the time. This is what the Tim Black Show does. I got my ear to the ground all the time, being aware of what's happening. I don't know what Clyburn's doing, but there are a lot of Americans, a lot of Black Americans, who are not appeased by Juneteenth being made a federal holiday. It was already a holiday for us. You giving white folks the awareness of Juneteenth is that a bigger deal as you want to make it to be. We would much rather had health care. We'd have much rather had reparations. We would much rather have. There's a number of things we would much rather have that we would want Clyburn to fight for us to get, to pry out of the hands of Joe Biden. But Clyburn ain't about that life. So Killer Mike is saying, hey man, you gave Joe Biden South Carolina. What did you get for it? This shit? Juneteenth being made a holiday so some people get a day off work. Meanwhile, us, we all know we're going to get an extra day. They're going to make us choose between Juneteenth and Columbus Day and some other white person day, they're going to make us, it ain't like we get an extra day. You have to choose, okay, what you want, MLK Day or Juneteenth Day, or you call Columbus Day. Which day you want to take? And the working people are going to still be working on that day, Jim. And Jim Clyburn enablers who want to make this about, oh, Killer Mike disrespected Jim Clyburn. Oh, because he held his ass accountable? That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to question authority. You're supposed to challenge those in power. Oh, it get worse because Killer Mike has the audacity to talk about what real people say or express the views held by most voting people who are not kissing the butt of the Democrats but want some actual tangibles for the black community.
What I realized when I saw people like Clyburn, which I don't have a problem with in South Carolina for the good work he's done, but I think it's incredibly stupid to not cut a deal before you get someone elected president, and the only thing you get is a federal holiday and nothing tangible out of it.
Talk about it.
And that criticism is with love, because I'm going to still come through your state, and I don't want state troopers to stop me. But what I realized is you got folks taking the bag on both sides, and you have people in the Democratic and Republican parties that are far more loyal to the people in corporations and the corporations that sponsor their running than they are to the people who actually vote to get them there.
There it is, Jonathan. There it is. Now, instead of people rebuking or retorting to what Killer Mike stated in that clip, they want to act offended. Because there's really no comeback for it. You're supposed to be negotiating on behalf of Black America as the number 3 person in the Democratic Party, and what do you get for your acquiescence to the Democratic, making Joe Biden the man? What do you get for handing over South Carolina? What do you get for it? A day we already had, nothing tangible for us. And now you upset because somebody said it. You didn't know that people were saying it already. Jim Clyburn, you need a new staff. You need new people around you. Or you need to have several seats. Matter of fact, that's what I think it is. I think it's always at some point, people had to sit down. And it's not disrespectful to say that. Time comes for all of us. Now, for you, it's coming the way of also payments have come for you. I was talking about this in 2017, how you were taking all this pharmaceutical money. I talked about it in 2017, in 2018, in 2019, in 2020. And while other people who are propped up by the establishment were running interference for Jim Clyburn, supporting him, even going so far as defending him, the criticism that he was given, I held my ground because it's not about him as an individual. It's about what's he doing for the people? Is he on the dole? Is he grifting? Is he taking money? Is his focus where it needs to be? Or do the donor class have his ear? Now, if you're taking more pharmaceutical money than anybody else in Congress, what's that say? Then you just so happen not to want Medicare for all. Now you're against Nita because she wants Medicare for all. I mean, I'm just connecting dots to the land right there, Johnson. I mean, I'm just picking up sticks. What would you have me believe? The sky is blue. Grass is green. Water is wet. And if you take money from the pharmaceutical industry and you just so happen to be the third ranking member in the Democratic Congress and have the ability to go to Joe Biden and make demands to him because you are giving him essentially the presidency, and you don't use it to our benefit, use it for this presumptive, this symbolic gesture, this hollow, vacant, empty gesture, as empty as kente cloth, being used as a stand-in for actual change, actual legislation or reparations, upliftment, equity. In this article, they don't even have the decency to use Senator Nina Turner's name in the masthead. This guy, Jonathan Weissman for the New York Times, he calls her a Sanders acolyte. Underling, a Sanders hanger-on. Listen here, fella. Jonathan Weissman. Wiseman. You may not like Nina Turner's politics. I get that. I understand that. You're part of the establishment. You just put out a book, Anti-Semitism, I think it is. Part of some organizations that may be responding to Chantel Brown's little red box on her website, the dog whistle box, to let people know she's open for donations from certain groups. You may not appreciate Nina Turner's advocacy for working people, particularly black people, poor disenfranchised people across this country. But what you do not get to do, Jonathan Weissman, is to erase her. Black women have been leading families in the black community. Black women have been the loudest voices in this movement. You do not get to erase them because you disagree with them politically. You can kiss my ass and a million or 40,000. I think that's how many donations she's got. You can kiss all the asses of all the grassroots donations of the folks who gave grassroots donations to Nina Turner that Chantel Brown can't even make claim to because she's getting funded by big super PACs and corporations. Your disrespect will not go unchallenged here, Jonathan Weissman. But you notice, see, here's the thing. The supporters of Jim Clyburn don't care that a black woman's name can't even be used in a hit piece that they're aiming at her at this point of the campaign. I mean, we're only a week away from early voting. Desperation has ensued upon the Chantel Brown. I expect more haymakers and flailing of the dying campaign of Chantel Brown to knock over more China than the bull in the China shop as the death throes of a body as of a campaign that is facing the afterlife, if there will be one for her. Because with the exposure of the lack of substance in your embodiment, in your political philosophy, Chantel Brown, is becoming apparent that you're only where you are. What did Mrs. Smith say in that town hall? Not because of your work ethic, but because of favoritism? Not my words. I'm not from Ohio. I'm just saying what other respectable, notable state senators have stated on the record about self. But here's the thing, guys. I'm not the only one who thinks this is a desperation attempt by a Democrat. This is the prevailing opinion of those who pay attention to this. I think this meme sums it up perfectly. Shout out to whoever posted this. This is amazing. Oh, this is Chantel Brown's campaign flatlining.
Wake up, Bunny! Bunny, wake up, I need you! No! You stay with me! You stay with me! Bunny!
Let's see, the joke here, this is Clyburn trying to wake up Chantel Brown's campaign. One more time, it's hilarious.
Bunny! Oh, God!
But those moments when she did.
Here's the kicker, man. Chantel Brown's campaign can't wake up because it never was awake to begin with. See, in The Walking Dead, the zombies, they're not really woke, they're dead. They pass on there. There's no brain activity. It's all instinct. That instinct is to eat and devour. That's Chantel Brown's campaign. It's not on life support. It never was alive. It was dead from the beginning. It's been dead from the door. I've been waiting for the opportunities to go a little harder on a campaign I've seen as feckless. That's not even my opinion. That's the Cleveland Plain Dealer. Wasn't there a newspaper that said, local newspaper that said people were going in and looking at Chantel Brown's campaign and they left thinking, gosh, they would really like to stop in there. But when you listen to Chantel Brown talk about her vision for Ohio, there's no there. Jim Clyburn is doing a Jim Clyburn, and we've seen this before. This is him. This is what he does. It's what he did in 2020. No new tricks. We know you, Jim. This is your MO. Some of us will call you out for it. I guess now everyone's calling him out now, though. It's easy now. Became easier. Some of us been calling it out from day one, though. This is keep it real, okay? I want credit for that shit because others now want to black it up. You know, that's the way to go now. They want to pretend to be about this life. I don't expect this to end. I expect there to be more of this. I expect there to be, we already had Hillary, then we get Clyburn, and oh my God, wouldn't it be something else if somebody else all of a sudden popped on the scene with something to say?
The degree to which misinformation is now disseminated at warp speed in coordinated ways that we haven't seen before. And that the guardrails I thought were in place around many of our democratic institutions really depend on the two parties agreeing to those ground rules, those guardrails, and that one of them right now doesn't seem as committed to them as in previous generations. That worries me. And I think we should all be worried.
Yeah. Well, I think we should all be worried, but not about what Obama's talking about, which I'm not sure is clear as the word salad. I mean, come on, sometimes speaking directly really pays dividends to the listener. I mean, people would like to know exactly what the hell you're talking about. But I think that the misinformation I think he's alluding to, I think that is prevalent on the left and the right. But this goes to a broader point, which is he's back. So I expect in the coming weeks, if this Clyburn endorsement doesn't make Ohioans totally forget that Chantel Brown's been asleep at the wheel, totally forget that she does not have a vision for Cleveland, kissing Joe Biden's ass, being a puppet for Joe Biden is not a policy prescription, nor is it leadership. Sounds like something out of Django. Yes, a boss. That's a boss. Big Daddy. I don't know what you quite mean, Big Daddy. Playing that role is not going to get those children housed. Playing that role is not going to bring jobs to Ohio. Playing that role is not going to get health care. And playing that role, damn sure, ain't going to get us no closer to reparations. But see, that's not what her goal is. Her goal is careerism. Chantel Brown's goal is careerism. Climbing the ladder, kissing the right butts, being in the right spot, smiling the right way. And that's not what inspires people. But keep your eyes open, folks. I expect Obama, because this ain't going to work, Clyburn. Valiant effort, sir. But we already know you. And we already know we need to rely on actual leadership, not kowtowing to establishment. And instead of being upset or angered or offended that someone dare question Jim Clyburn or call his actions less than intelligent or wise or strategic, instead of getting upset about that, you should be upset about the damn condition of black people in America and why Jim Clyburn has been in office for damn near 40 years and what has he really done to address these issues. In my opinion, Killer Mike was being charitable when he talked about Jim Clyburn. I would have been a lot more scathing in my rebuke for his activities. Killer Mike did not even bring up the pharmaceutical money. He didn't bring up the fact that Jim Clyburn is perfectly fine with removing the end qualified immunity portion from the George Floyd Policing Act. And you have a problem with the words of Killer Mike, you damn sure don't want to hear what Tim Black has to say. But if you do want to hear what Tim Black has to say, subscribe to this channel where we leave no punch unthrown. For the people, though. For the people. Not for Joe Biden, not for Kamala, but for the people. And while you're here, Go to NinaTurner.com. Donate to a real people-driven, people-powered campaign. I'm through with you.
Most news shows are suspect. They don't focus on Black issues, and when they do, it's all fluff. How does that help your life? How does that help your family? How does that help the culture? They don't. The Tim Black Show is different. Tim Black gives you news for people who can't stand the news. Real, authentic, researched, entertaining, on point. Don't let nobody take your cornbread. Visit www.timblacktv.com today. Get Black breaking news, politics, culture from someone you can trust. TimBlackTV.com. Join us today.